Hello and welcome to this For the Region event. Today we're talking about young people across South West Wales, and we've brought together all of you to talk about what brilliant things are already happening to inspire and empower young people across our region, and potentially to co-create some collaborative projects and see what we could do to work together better going forward. In a few conversations that we've been having over recent months, partners have shared with us the real challenges that are facing all of us, but facing young people in particular. One of the colleges was saying that they've actually massively expanded the number of kind of well-being professionals supporting students in college with their well-being and their mental health, because obviously the pandemic, the lockdowns have had a massive impact on everybody's well-being and really shaken people's confidence in what they're doing. And now, you know, it's a difficult time to look at the news, to see what's going on in the world, to be thinking about the future, to be grappling with the climate and biodiversity predicaments, and that sort of level of uncertainty, that fearfulness that exists, is really having a big impact on young people. And really it's something that hopefully collectively we're all working to address in different ways. And our big question for today is kind of what more would we love to see happen, and how could we better collaborate to sort of take on that challenge and see if we can make life better, but also empower and inspire young people about their futures. And in some of the conversations we've been having with employers in different sectors across the region, what's really apparent to us always when we meet with employers, whether that's in the manufacturing and engineering sectors or in the creative and digital sector and many others, is that there is so much opportunity. There are so many fantastic businesses, so many amazing projects happening, so much kind of world-class stuff going on across our region within the universities and within businesses across South West Wales. And it's our sense that young people are just not plugged into that, not aware of the amazing opportunities that they could take up. And as we know, with all these big projects moving forward, we really want those things like the City Deal projects and the major innovations and developments to really benefit the people in our region who can take on those kind of future jobs and move into those fast-growing future trends and sectors. So is there more that could be done to make sure young people are aware of what's already great? So it's two things really. It's like, yes, times are really difficult. There are these massive challenges. Young people's future is uncertain. The challenges they're going to have to deal with probably are kind of unfathomable to all of us. So how are we building that resilience? How are we developing and looking after young people's kind of well-being and mental health? And on the other side, everything's amazing. There's loads of stuff happening. There are huge opportunities. There's fantastic career options available to young people. So what are we doing to raise awareness of those and make sure we're really amplifying all the great stuff and lots of reasons to be cheerful? So I think that I'm trying to hold those two realities in mind simultaneously. And one of my friends often says, you know, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And that's probably true as we go into this conversation. But with that said, as a sort of opening gambit, this morning's session is really to hear from everyone who's kind of come along today about what's important to you, what you're up to. It's a kind of fact-finding and knowledge-sharing mission. One of the things that we really feel is really important function that For the Region can fulfil is to try and connect people across the 4 counties so that we all have that broader awareness of who's already doing what. And so we're hoping to hear from all of you, and it's an opportunity for you to share your updates with the wider community. So we've got lots of different representatives from different organisations here with us this morning, and we're looking forward to hearing your perspectives, what you're up to, and where you think more could be done, or the impact of your work could be increased through collaboration and networking. But the first thing I'm going to do is ask you all a question and put us all into breakout rooms for a very, very brief 6 or 8 minute discussion around the question of why does this conversation feel important to you? Or why have you come? What we're trying to do here is just connect around a sense of purpose, around why this topic, this conversation about young people kind of resonates with you. What gives you the greatest sense of purpose or importance about this topic, or what drives you in your work with young people across South West Wales? So why is this whole conversation important to you? I'm going to open some breakout rooms. You'll be in very small groups. You'll have a sort of minute or so each to share why this is important to you. So don't waste too much time on introductions. If you can summarize what you're doing in 5 words and then move on to talking about why it's important, that will be the best use of time. And then we'll regroup, and hopefully some of you will share with us your sense of why all this is so important. Okay, welcome back. I think that's everybody back from the breakout rooms, and I hope that was enough time and not too much time to have a brief discussion about what feels important, why this topic has brought you here today, and what kind of gives you a sense of purpose around working with young people across South West Wales. So I think what I'd like to invite next is for anyone who would like to share either what you said or what you heard. Why does this feel important to you? So I'm happy to take waving hands or hands up, and I'd love to just reflect on what feels important to some of you. Bethan, thanks for going first. Why does this conversation feel important to you?
No problem. So I think we had some similar themes in our room. Obviously just with young people being really kind of central to a lot of our work, and us wanting to, some kind of key themes that came out with like giving opportunities for these young people, helping them build skills was another, filling in the gap was something else that was mentioned, thinking about kind of the past few years as well, like you mentioned already, about those young people being affected quite a lot by that as well. But I think also like positive as well, about thinking about how we can help build that through collaboration, and lots of us interested here about what each other do today and kind of being able to network. And there was another focus around kind of, as well as helping young people, those from underrepresented groups. And that's kind of why we mentioned giving opportunities as well, and helping them in their next steps was kind of, I suppose, another theme, talking about careers, what's next. And I think a really good thing was mentioned about kind of role models and enabling those young people to see what is out there for them, and that they can do these different job roles or whatever it is that we're specifically looking at as well.
Super, yeah, thanks Bethan. Great summary of quite a few really important themes there. So loads to get stuck in with. Thank you for sharing that. Tom, let's hear from you. Why does this conversation feel important?
Well, I just put my hand up to speak on behalf of my small group, I suppose, without us actually agreeing that. Sorry, everybody, if you didn't want me to. I think, we were all involved in projects which are trying to connect and engage with young people. Very conscious, as has been mentioned, that young people have had a tough time in recent years and need all the help they can get. There was mention of kind of positive things and the need for kind of positivity and role modeling and helping young people sort of see what they could be. But yeah, very much this need for connection amongst all our projects and young people, and finding a way to do that more effectively, I think. We didn't really have time to go much beyond that.
Not yet anyway, maybe we can elaborate further. Thank you, Tom, for that. That's great, good to see you. Amy, why are you here? Why does this conversation feel important to you?
Morning, guys. So I basically on the flip side of all the support from Big Ideas Wales, and I've got quite an unorthodox story of how I've got a business. So I like to give back as much as I can with my weird and fandangle story. And what I've noticed over the last couple of, over the last 6 months when I've been going into schools or talking to young people, is they seem to have, like we were talking in our group about this image of what a business owner looks like. So I'm not a typical looking business owner. I don't do a typical working week. Mental health is very much at at the forefront of my sort of day to day. I work with my own schedule. I run a hybrid team, and it's in the digital space as well, and creative industries. And I think that I was mentioning to my group that I'm going on the BBC tour for the similar thing here, just to go out and tell them, well, actually, you don't need to be in London to be, doing digital marketing. You don't need to be in London to do filmmaking and creation. There's so much on the doorstep. And it's about giving. I think that COVID did impact young people. We were looking at a lot of statistics with youth development about, the impact on mental health and the confidence that is lacking at the moment. So I really feel that this is a fantastic group with lots of different sort of partnerships and things going on, and agencies. And if I can be of assistance, obviously going through it and coming out the other end, I feel that when I was listening to role models, obviously it really sort of give me a little bit of a boost. So anything that I can do to assist this, I think is great, really. So thank you for having me as well.
Wow, thanks, Amy. That's really powerful. And as you say, the importance of role models has kind of shaped all of us, hasn't it, in how we've imagined our own lives. But one of the things you really said there is, role models can show us the kind of vast range of different possibilities, that things aren't as you would expect. And it's just such an important message. And we need more of that, don't we? Yeah. Great to hear from you. Thank you so much, Amy. Emma, what would you like to say? Why does this conversation feel important to you?
Hi, everybody. It's great to be part of this, actually. Again, like many have said, to expand networks. So I'm currently on secondment, dare I say it, at government, so in Welsh Government. And we're very much looking at, how we need to be engaging with young people. So I'm currently in the team that's operating something called the Young Person's Guarantee. Some people may have heard about that, but others may not have. And for me, we're currently also having a big national conversation with young people, and we've had the first set of results come through, and obviously all the issues that you've already raised about mental health and well-being are there. But it's also about what are we doing, because as part of the fourth region, you've got some real rural areas as well. So it's how do we tackle those young people living in rural areas who have got real transport issues on top of everything else? How do we make sure that they have access to these connected networks? A lot of young people are saying to us that they feel at a greater disadvantage if they don't have role models at home or don't feel connected to employers or organizations. So how do we make sure they're better connected, especially young people who are, really vulnerable from seldom heard groups as well. So it's about how do we tackle that? And there's lots of other issues that are falling out of the national conversation. And for me, even though we look at a national picture, I think it's really important to still engage with local and regional and what's going on in the community. So it's always the how do we do it? And I'm always looking to collaborate as much as possible. We have got a stakeholder advisory group as part of the Young Person's Guarantee, and it would be really great if we had a representative from this group, perhaps, to extend this a little bit further, and especially from the private sector as well. Just so that, again, we can bridge some gaps between, what we're hearing from young people and how we can involve private sector to try and help as much as possible. So lots of reasons why I'm here. But I've worked, in the young person space for a number of years, and it's something I'm still, very interested in. They are the future of our economy and our communities. We have to make sure that they thrive. Otherwise, the next generation is really going to struggle. So lots of reasons why I'm here. So great to meet everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Really great to have you with us, and hopefully in a little while you'll tell us a little bit more about the Young Person's Guarantee, because I'd like to understand a bit more about that. But you've raised some really important topics there, and transport comes up so often in the discussions that we're having on all sorts of topics. But yeah, transport and connectivity is a key challenge, and especially for those in rural areas. So that's really interesting to think about, isn't it? And yeah, and I think equipping young people, but also it's two-way, isn't it? That they will inherit the future, and yeah, they will shape it as well. So yeah, loads of really important themes, and connectivity is coming up a lot, not just in transport and connecting to employers, but between all of us in understanding who's doing what and connecting with each other. Would anyone else like to take the mic and tell us, why does this feel important to you? Share your own sense of purpose around young people. Emma, yes, let's hear from you.
Hi, firstly, it's obviously nice to meet everyone and see you all, and hoping to find out a lot more about what you all do, and, you know, some opportunities to do some sort of cross-working. I represent Big Ideas Wales. I'm actually the outside of education thematic lead, or one half of the thematic lead duo for the project. And the reason I've come along is because so much of the work that we do at the moment is very much geared and centred in on the young person's guarantee, because we do appreciate that there has been that lost generation in Wales, and obviously what we strive to be is a safe space for young people to come and learn about self-employment as a potential option. You know, the support is fully funded, and I think the big thing for us at the moment is realising that entrepreneurship is one thing, enterprise-based skills consider something else entirely. And what we want to be able to do is deal with young people and have them come in and learn from not just our business advisors, but also our role model network, you know, fabulous Welsh business owners who have taken the time to give back and talk about their own journey into enterprise. And what we find at the moment is that is the area that's lacking. Young people do need that handhold, and they do need that mentorship, because they have been a little bit out in the cold for the last couple of years. And like I said, where we can connect and link with networks as much as possible, because what we respect is that self-employment isn't going to be for every young person that comes to us. So if what we can forge are great relationships with other organisations that can offer an alternative positive outcome, we would much rather see that type of transfer taking place than someone just dropping off the radar because they feel they've failed at something that they've tried to do. So that's sort of my main purpose here today.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. Big Ideas Wales is such an important programme, and many of us across the region have either been involved in one way or another or inspired through Big Ideas Wales. So really fantastic asset, and great to have you with us. Thank you for that. Abid, you're up next. What fills you with a sense of purpose around working with young people?
First off, good morning to everybody, and also bonjour.
Hi, yeah, great to have you with us. What fills you with a sense of purpose, Abid?
Basically, it's basically in the work that I do, really, because it motivates me in a really huge way, of being the station manager for XL UK Radio. It's the local Swansea's online music station, and we're carving out a really good niche here in this part of South Wales. And I'm a very positive and hopeful person in wanting to work with young people, in terms of their development. I think that Emma put it quite aptly just now when she was on here, saying that young people are the future of not just Wales, but also our local economy and also communities as well. And I think that's hitting the nail on the head, with that particular statement. And that's how I truly feel in the work that we're doing, and giving young people worthwhile and tangible work experience, and also gaining the skills that they can take on then to higher level opportunities within the radio and any sort of media based industry as well. We're working closely with universities, colleges, youth organizations. And if you're not already sort of talking with us at the moment, and you're in this meeting as well, please do get in touch with me. I'll leave a link to our email address within the chat anyway. I love to collaborate with everybody. For the region has given us, a huge platform. So big shout out to Zoe and Dawn OC for, connecting with us, for so many people that we've already sort of benefited from talking, and people have benefited from talking with myself and, and the station as well. So, I think it's really important for young people because of the way that it's, especially radio, it's helped me in a huge way. I didn't used to be like this when I was way younger, like in my early 20s. I could hardly keep a conversation going or anything like that. And I think radio has given me such a huge boost in confidence. It improved my mental health. you know, it improved the social aspect of having to talk to other people. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for radio, basically, and the right type of mentors. I think that's important, having the right type of mentors to sort of guide me has been a massive help. So I'm trying to fill in the role now of my own mentors now. Literally the teacher becoming literally the student becoming the teacher sort of thing now. And I think what we're doing is absolutely fantastic. Nobody else is doing it. No other radio stations in Wales is offering what we're offering. In terms of a good training development platform, because you know it's a known fact that all the you know, employment opportunities in our sector in particular are all in England. You know, so where we're trying to bridge the huge geographical displacement, and I would love it, you know, to train up people and retain talent here in South Wales. I think Wales, you know, could be boosted by that with our contribution, and you know, and especially working with other organizations and, you know, other entities, I think we could really achieve that, you know, in trying to make South Wales, the real hotspot of not just, you know, and everything, but yeah, like, I'll, you know, I go more into this, but I don't want to take up anybody's time.
I know, it's such a, I know you're so passionate. Thank you for sharing all of that. A few things you said there that really resonate. I mean, the retaining talent is a key message, isn't it? That we don't want to lose all our talented young people to elsewhere in the UK or beyond. But that point about young people being not just the future of our businesses and the future of our economy, but the future of our communities, I think there's something in that I'd like to unpack as we go on about, you know, young people as change makers and feeling empowered to help shape the future of communities over time. And the message about empowering young people to express themselves and to have the confidence to use their voices. And I can see where radio comes into that. But I think that's so important, isn't it? That, you know, we've all got to go on that journey in our lives of recognizing that we have something valuable to contribute and we want to speak, and having the confidence to use our voices. And I'd love more young people to feel empowered in that way. Thanks, Abid, really powerful. Susan, I'll come to you. And then I think, Sue, you did have your hand up, Sue Poole, so I'll come to you next. Susan.
Hi there. First of all, thank you for the region, because you can just feel the enthusiasm and passion in the room, even though we're not actually in a room together. So thank you for the opportunity for this session. I'm sat here, sorry to people in my group, because I've already said a little bit of this. I'm sat here with two hats on. So I'm here as Ops Director of Vocalize, which is a digital tool for engaging communities, and also as Chair of Pennard Community Council, where we have some members of the community, young members of the community, are interested in actually setting up a youth council, and we'd like to support them to do that. And so for me, my purpose, I have 3 young people of my own who've all struggled through school, and you know, the friendships and connecting and feeling the pressure that comes with being in school, and always forward looking towards the future, and you have to do this or you're not going to get a good job, and all of that sort of stuff, right through the pandemic, which impacted young people so much. Certainly here, my youngest has only just gone back to face-to-face education after being going from being a member of the first Welsh Youth Parliament, where she was speaking in the Senedd, having Zoom calls with the First Minister, to not being able to come out of a room and socialise with a family, never mind leave the house. So I'm very passionate about young people having a voice, and yeah, anyone who wants to collaborate, I'm really excited to do that. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for making it real. Sometimes it's when you hear about an individual experience, isn't it, that it feels really real, the challenge that so many are facing, and it makes it sort of visceral for all of us. So I really appreciate your share. Thanks for that. Sue Poole, I think you were waving, so I'm going to come to you.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see so many faces who've got the same passion as we have here at 2B Enterprising. So a lot of what everybody said this morning has resonated when Emily was saying about young people being out in the cold. And what Susan has just said, exactly the same, as if they're cut off and on another planet. They just don't feel part of the world. So for us here at To Be Enterprising, this is crucially important that we're going into schools. We're working with over 6,500 young people this year alone, and we've seen it in reality. We go in, young people who at age, in classes in years 1 and 2 would be able to write their name and read, are just so far behind that they can't read off the wall, off the board. We are seeing teachers, schools and young people really struggling after going through the last two very difficult years. So for us, it's about starting young, so developing that entrepreneurial mindset. I think Emma said it, and also the Big Ideas Wales, the other Emma Beddow has said it. It's about developing the entrepreneurial mindset, making our young people enterprising, giving them the skills and the opportunities to be able to develop soft skills, life skills. We call them enterprise skills, problem solving, innovation, creativity, teamwork, looking at all those important skills. It doesn't matter what route they take in life, those skills will be important. Being able to work as a team, hit the ground running. That's what we're trying to do, and we're working in primary schools because we feel that the younger you start developing these all important life skills, the better. So we've had a very busy year, and it's great to see so many people, as I say, in the room with the same passion, the same drive, trying to help our local communities. Our programme brings businesses into schools, so we partner a local business, either a small business, a national business, and take them into the classroom to open the children's eyes to the variety, the plethora of opportunities that are open to them. So it's lovely to be here today. I won't keep chatting because I know there's lots of people in the room who want to speak. It's lovely to be here and hear the enthusiasm. And again, thanks to Dawn and Zoe for organising this.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue. It's a fantastic project, bringing that connection at a really young age into primary schools, and we'd love to see that happening right across the 4 counties in every primary school, that they have the opportunity to access the materials and resources. And as you say, enterprise skills is not just about being an entrepreneur and running a business. It's so valuable in all aspects of life. Yeah, great to hear from you. Zubs, let's hear from you. Thanks for being here. What would you like to say? What fills you with a sense of purpose?
So I'm here kind of not just representing the YMCA, but I facilitate a project called Y Future. So it's a youth-led project. So it's all the young people's ideas between age 11 to 25. They come up with the ideas and solutions, and it's all environmental solutions as well. So it's great that they kind of come up with ideas of how they can have an impact on the environment and the areas in which they live in. And then I kind of help facilitate their ideas being brought to life. And in a way, it's really nice for them to see their ideas aren't far-fetched, they aren't undoable, they are reachable, they are sustainable, they are aspects of the project that even after Y Future ends, after funding, that the young people can still carry on and take ownership of. So it's really nice for them to know that it's not just a short term, this is something that they can build careers out of, that they can, make a real difference, not just locally, but globally as well. So, for example, young people really understood the impact of saving bees. So we're working with a bee company in Gower and trying to get more hives so that they can work with doing the bees. The young people are all from rural areas of Swansea, so they wanted to incorporate a way of encouraging others to come to their areas, as well as incorporating things they find in the city in their areas. So one of their ideas that we're in the middle of working with an animator at the minute, and they've all come up with environmental superheroes. They're all going to be working around different aspects of Swansea, and then we're going to make an animation. But it's all their ideas, and it's really nice for them to have a platform where they can not just say their ideas, but have someone that's actually behind them, say, well, that's doable, that's reachable, that's sustainable. So yeah, that's why I'm here to kind of, because all these help me when they come up with an idea for me to go, actually, I know someone, or I can work with someone. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Thanks for sharing. And I think what we need to build more of, and that's a great example, is you know, supporting and championing what young people themselves want to do, and not making the mistake of doing stuff to young people, but really figuring out between us what small interventions we can make that actually enable young people to lead the stuff that they want to do. So yeah, that's an inspiring example. So an open mic just for a couple more contributions. If you'd like to just spend a minute and introduce your organisation or your work, then I'm very open to that. A little bit of a platform for those who want to just share an update from your organisation and what you're doing. But obviously we're all passionate, and that could take all day. So I'm counting on you to stick to like a minute and tell us what you're up to. Tom, let's come to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, just I'm not going to bang on too much, but I'm conscious that we're all kind of trying to do the same thing, all trying to give young people a voice, share the positivity, that kind of thing. There are massive issues around, you know, doing that in the best way. Nobody's got a magic bullet, I think, for, you know, say social media. Is that, how do you do that? I just wanted to share one thing. I think, you know, everything that we've talked about, all these issues that have been mentioned, there is a document in my previous role in the National Park in Pembrokeshire. Young people were involved in creating this youth manifesto, which I know you've seen before, Dawn. But so it was working with young people from across Europe who live in rural and protected areas particularly, but I think everybody in West Wales suffers from the same kind of issue. So am I able to just very quickly share my screen, Dawn? Because this resource has been created as something that we want any youth organisation to use, and it might save people a lot of effort, particularly if they're doing issues-based work in terms of coming up with things that are useful and important to young people. Maisie, who is my successor from the National Park, is in this call as well. So sorry, Maisie, I'm gazumping you a little bit, but it's basically broken down into 4 areas. One is about youth empowerment, about you know, setting up youth structures and platforms for young people, connecting them together, obviously. Then there's a bit about living, about infrastructure, about transport, about housing and affordability, better community connections, stuff about learning, nature education, more support, businesses, training, about social platforms and inspiring interest amongst other young people, and about working. It's a very useful resource. It might save you reinventing the wheel, folks. So I'll put that in the chat, the link to that. Pembrokeshire Coast are doing a kind of Pembrokeshire version of that. But as I say, it's a resource to be used and adapted by anyone working with young people. So have a look at that, folks.
Yeah, thanks for flagging that, Tom. And I think you're right. We don't want to be reinventing the wheel. And it'd be great if we can kind of move the conversation on of like, okay, how can we enable some of those things, and how can we collaborate to answer those calls to action from young people? So yeah, thank you for sharing. Caris, what would you like to say? Why are you here?
Just a quick introduction, really. I work for Swansea Council, so partnership and involvement team. So we look at children's rights. So some of you might not be aware, but Swansea Council have in 2014 launched their children's rights scheme. So basically it means that they've got a due regard to children's rights, and they're promising that any policies, any strategy changes that affect children and young people, that they're promising to listen to them and take their views into account when making any of these changes. So that's part of my role. So we go out and speak to children and young people, find out what matters to them, and it's them then that tell us what Swansea Council should be doing for them, and that informs my work. So it's really whistle stop tour, but anybody that wants a Swansea Council sort of perspective on things or to get involved, I'll pop my details in the chat. But really I'm looking at different ways of engaging and empowering young people, because what a lot of them have said to us when we've been into the schools and into youth groups and stuff to chat to them is that in school they get their voices heard by school councils, but actually that doesn't work for everybody, because a lot of them feel that it's just the popular children or the confident children and young people that get to do that. So we're looking at other ways then of sort of hearing those quiet voices and looking at why voices are quiet for lots of different reasons. It's, you know, sometimes to do with confidence, sometimes to do with disabilities, and there's lots of different reasons. So really looking at actually how can we listen to everybody, and those mechanisms, I listen to everyone in different ways, and not just always having those sort of formal school councils, youth forums and stuff that that work for some people, and they're not something that we should be getting rid of, but it's definitely something we should be looking at, you know, both things. So yeah, a really quick introduction to me.
Yeah, thank you, Caris. Really important contribution, and great to have you here from the council. And I think that's a key point, isn't it? There are those young people who are just ready to grasp opportunities and ready to flourish as soon as they're given the opportunity to do so. And then there are those, as you say, quieter voices. So that's a really important point. Bethan, yes, hello.
Hi, Caris, I think that's such an important point, something I've been speaking about with people recently. And I think Avid mentioned as well, you know, we're not all, we kind of grow in our confidence, don't we, as we grow up? So I think that's a really good point there too. I just wanted to say, I'm going to pop a bit of detail in the chat in a moment now for everyone. But I was just going to say in that message that it's really, really nice to hear everyone having these like common vision and kind of aims and the same values going on. And I think to kind of build on Tom's point that kind of collaboration, we want something to help us do that together, don't we? And I suppose that's quite a big part of our work here at Skills Builder Partnerships. Something we talk about with whoever we work with is about having a common language. For us, we're talking about essential transferable skills. So if that is kind of resonating with you at all, interested, I'm going to pop my details in the chat. I'm not going to bother trying to explain much now because I think I'll rattle on, Dawn. So I'll just pop that in the chat, and yeah, please feel free to get in contact with me if you're interested, or just have a look at the website as well. There's lots on there. Thanks.
Thank you, Bethan. Yeah, please do share the info in the chat. And I think you've queued me up there really well, actually, because what I'd like to spend a little bit of time on now, we're here together until about 12, and I will let you go on time, I promise, is to really ask the question of how you guys think we could collaborate better. So, you know, are there ways that we could all build and maximize the impact of our work and our ideas and our projects and our resources? Could we maximize the impact of all of that through somehow better collaboration or better joining up of everything that's happening? Or are there gaps? You know, what would help us to really grow our impact? Now, I'd like to hear from Laura, because she's just put her hand up, and in a minute I will send us into smaller groups to grapple with that question. But Laura, what would you like to say?
One of the things that struck me is the fact there's all these amazing things going on, but there's no real one central point where we can find out what's going on for young people or have these links to organisations. So these meetings are great, and I'll write a load of notes, but then I might forget what's happening, or, you know, it'll go in the chat and you don't see it again. So it would be really great to just have one central, like a notice board or a group, whether it was social media, where people can post what's happening and what's going on and what's available, rather than having to go specifically searching for it. There's a huge amount of crossover. It's just, especially for us, because we're an arts centre, technically, in a theatre, we see what's happening in that circle, but our interest is in attracting young people, not just young people who are already interested in arts and theatre. So I think that's something to think about, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that is a key thing, isn't it? You know, where can we look where all the threads come together, and we can understand kind of the whole picture of what's available and join things up. So I'm going to invite everyone to join a breakout room for another very brief conversation, just to discuss this particular question, really. So how might we collaborate better? What needs to happen to increase the impact of all of our work by joining the dots somehow, or yeah, open to ideas and suggestions of what would you love to see? So that's it. What would you love to see to enable us all to collaborate better, to maximize the impact of all our individual efforts collaboratively for the benefit of young people across our region? What would you love to see? So get ready to share. You don't have to represent your group. You can just share your own thoughts, or you can report back on what was said in your breakout room conversations. That's up to you.
Okay, so we had 4 of us chatting, and we do have 3 ideas, how feasible or doable they are. So the first one was to have you do your wonderful monthly bulletin that I was mentioning that comes out every month, is perhaps have something specific to youth. So to have a monthly bulletin relating to all the work to support, encourage, motivate, inspire young people. So it would be purely for those members who are working within that space. So that was the first idea. Second one was to look at a platform where we could drop into the platform, and Abid came up with a name of one called Discord, that you just put into that platform exactly what you're doing, events coming up, collaboration that needs to be done. So that's a platform. And the third one, I think we were looking at then, was to have a Facebook group, or and if we do have something coming up, that we just drop things in so people can go in and look in their own time, add things in, because everything won't be relevant to everybody. So that was our third one, and that was Laura's idea. So that was our 3.
Super, yeah, those seem eminently doable, I think. Thank you, Sue. Yeah, it's all about sharing the updates from everybody, so there's somewhere to go and look.
What we were discussing is, obviously I'm from a digital marketing background, and what we were saying is that, you know, having a kind of website, even if it's like a sublink from your main website, that's purely for youth. Where, you know, everyone can have their own little snippet of profiles with links to their websites. And there was a discussion around, you know, if we do get, you know, build a website or build an app, how, you know, are people going to use it? So platform wise, you know, God, I've probably been told about 1,000 platforms, but unless it's in my bookmark, I forget all about it and I don't go on it. So I think that, because we all know, when I think of anything to do with this now, I'll think for the region. So if I need any information, I'll probably go to your site and look for something there. So I would suggest going on to, you know, just having a subsection of your website where everyone can have a little bit of a blurb, kind of like the Meet the Team. We also discussed, you know, a lot of, although this is all relevant, for me, some guys may not be as relevant as others. So it's about, if we had that platform on the website, we can actually look at it and go, actually, do you know what, I'll speak to these people first, because obviously there's 30 of us in the room, having 30 one-to-ones and collaborating that way is going to take a lot of time. So, and there was discussion as well about keeping these meetings going. So as well as, you know, doing the website, I think Rian mentioned as well, keeping on having these, you know, meetings, and that way building up relationships and the trust there as well. And obviously that's probably where we're at with that. So yeah, that's an idea that I think would work quite well.
Yeah, brilliant, Amy. I know what you mean. If it's just reinventing another platform, the question is, do we check in, do we look at it? So yeah, keeping everything all in one place. And I think conversations like this, I mean, I hope partners agree, but it's so useful, isn't it, just to come together, even if it's every 6 months, to share updates. So I definitely support that idea. Thanks, Amy, for that. Susan, what would you love to see?
From our room, I don't think I'm adding anything here, to be honest with you. I did have to pop out and take a phone call, so apologies. We had something like quarterly meetings such as this one for networking, moving the conversation forwards, and collaborating. Podcasts was suggested, that we could have a podcast where we showcase what we're currently doing, what we hope to be doing, that people can listen in and join us. And then we talked about a digital space to connect and share ideas. So obviously, Vocalize have a digital platform. I put a link to some information in the chat. But we also discussed possibly Slack, because people use Slack for lots of different conversations. And so there might be use there. So yeah, that was from us.
Great, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's half the job, isn't it? Choosing the right place to collect all the information. That's really important to figure out what would be workable for most people?
I was mentioning in my group that we once hosted an event in our theatre when all the different provisions had a table with everything they do. And we invited a school to come along, but they picked representatives from all their after school clubs, like Active Citizens, Young Entrepreneurs, and they organised a trip to come into the YMCA. They got to meet all the different services, the project coordinators. They got to ask them questions, why they got in the job, what they liked, what they didn't like, what their day-to-day jobs involved. They got to walk around the building. They got to talk to the CEO. They got to talk to the reception staff. But they left then not only knowing that these are real careers that they can go into, but they learned what services and provisions are available to them. But they then had the opportunity of taking posters and consent forms home. So then as soon as they kind of went home and told their parents or carers about their day, they also had the resources there to give to them to say, well, I'd like to know more about Y Talent, and here's the form for it. And I met Geg today and he told me this, this and this. So it gave them a real opportunity to not only look at the services and provisions, but see that these are careers that can be made out of them. They got to hear and ask questions that they probably normally wouldn't able to. But it also gave the teachers an opportunity as well of seeing what, so although it was an Active Citizens teacher that came, he talked to the guys who run young carers about their accredited courses for staff to be able to, you know, look out for young carers and how you notice a young carer. So it was really good for him to then go back to the head teacher, talk to the other staff as well. So it was that of kind of, could we do that but with other organisations and have like a representative from each school come in, or, you know, and we all get together, a bit like I was saying to Zoe, a bit like the transport talks that we did in the theatre, in the Grand Theatre, and invite loads of organisations and a representative from each school to come along and talk to us all, and, you know, kind of share that, and hopefully they can then pass that information on to others, whether it's the young people, parents, and then just keep that dominoes effect going then of people keep sharing the information they kind of have. But that was it.
Yeah, great. I'd love us to think about that sort of thing, that, you know, big kind of events or expos, or the opportunity for us all to get together and bring young people in to hear from and understand what's available. And that, you know, that challenge around engaging with schools. I mean, I know some of the projects in the room do a fantastic job of getting in the door of local schools, and then other projects and initiatives that we talk to really don't know where to start in getting to talk to schools. And we sort of know that schools need help, want help, would be open to better community engagement, but it is really difficult to kind of, for those of us on the outside of the school system, to engage. So an opportunity to bring schools in and share information and resources sounds great. Zoe, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I was in the room with Zubs and I was really excited by the idea of an event. As you know, I love an event, so that would just be fantastic to be able to pull something like that together. But we also, just to say again about our newsletter, and at the back of our monthly newsletter, we have a section which promotes events and things, and it was suggested that there could be something that would showcase events that happen across the region, that goes out to us as organisations that work with young people, but also to scout groups, Prince's Trust, so like anyone that deals with young people. There's lots of youth councils, or anyone that deals with young people, a sort of newsletter with the events that would go out to them on a regular basis to inspire them, but also showcase what's happening and keep everybody connected a little bit. And also that note that Jenny just finished the second as we came into this room, which I thought was great. Jenny's from Gower College, Swansea, and she was mentioning that lots of times when they're looking at tender opportunities, they're looking to collaborate with local organisations so they can work with people and put that into the tender, that they're collaborating with like-minded organisations. And it's about us maybe collating some sort of, she said, like a repository of data that we could keep a sort of hub of people that you might put, oh, I'm doing this tender or looking at this funding pot, who would be interested in collaborating with us as well, which I thought would be quite a cool idea.
Brilliant. I mean, it's so frustrating, isn't it, when you see kind of the wheel being reinvented in lots of different places, and I know we all want to avoid that in our work. So somewhere where we can have an awareness of if someone's already working on a project proposal, or if there are opportunities to collaborate and tender for things or bid for funding collaboratively, it'd be great to figure out how we could enable that.
I was just thinking, we haven't seen, and I'm not sure, and forgive me if I'm sort of generalizing here, but a lot of us aren't young people, and I think the fact that we need actual young people's voice in this sphere is something that hasn't really been mentioned very much. And you know, so we're talking about creating resources or websites or using particular social media apps or whatever, you know, that's all very well if that's for us, but if it's for young people, then we need to try and support young people to actually co-create and co-design this stuff, rather than us deciding what works for us, because it's probably wrong. That's my main point, really. I think apart from, as far as the school age stuff, you know, let's not forget about the harder to reach 16 to 25-year-old schools are a good way to reach the mainstream, but they are not obviously any good at reaching people once they've gone out into the wide world. So I think we need to have a little bit more of a kind of holistic view of this, particularly as the older ones are perhaps the young people who are currently in more of a position to kind of change things for themselves.
Agreed. Yes. So I think in some ways we're answering the question of how could we collaborate better as the grown-ups in the room, what would help us share information, but your point is well made about youth voice. We don't want to do things to them when really we need them to tell us what they want us to do.
Yeah, so yeah, Tom, I think you're right. Co-curation is a great way forward. I think we need to think about that with the what Dawn was saying as well. Perhaps we need to talk amongst ourselves as well. But I just wanted to shamelessly advertise Oriel Science, because Dawn mentioned what schools might want to do. So Oriel Science is just up from Castle Square, between Castle Square and the train station. So we have free school workshops, as well as being open to the public as well. So I put our website in the chat. So if you have schools that want to visit us, please contact us. We have some fab workshops based upon our incredibly fab exhibits. Thanks.
Super. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Very conscious that we've got lots of representation from Swansea in the room, and if you're not from Swansea, and I know Tom isn't, but others, make sure you speak up. So we are hearing from other parts of the region as well. And yes, Sue Poole, I think you had your hand up. What would you love to see? What were you going to say?
I just wanted to make a very quick comment. We're working in the space, primary schools. There are end users of our project and our program, and yes, it is a tough wall to fight through to get into primary schools for a variety of different reasons. You know, they're absolutely overwhelmed with trying to catch up through COVID and the new changes in the curriculum. But just a few tips. What's worked for us is using school teachers or heads that were working with us at the moment to introduce us to other schools and other teachers. And also, I don't know if you're aware, but the City and County of Swansea have a newsletter that goes out to heads every month. So that might be worth contacting their education department. I think it goes through first of all, and they can add little bits in about what you could help and support schools. So I just wanted to signpost that.
Oh, great. I love your top tips there, Sue. Thank you for that. There's a City Deal project, isn't there, about this kind of skills and talent agenda as part of the Swansea Bay City Deal. Annette, I'm not sure if that's you. Yes. And I'd be really interested to hear a little bit about how that's going, because last I heard there's a big pot of money that partners across the region could apply for different initiatives around the skills and talent agenda. And I wonder if you'd like to just share a little more about that.
Well, I'm new to post, so I am getting to grips. It's lovely being here today, and just hearing everything that's out there is brilliant for me. So basically, for those who don't know about the Swansea Bay City Deal, it's about creating ambition, raising aspirations, all looking forward thinking towards the future. My role is actually career pathways, hopefully going into schools, definitely going to focus on the work experience, trying to make it more relevant, create a program. So obviously employers would be, well, we definitely need a lot of employers. So any help with that would be brilliant. There's also pilot projects that will be, we're looking at 5 sectors basically. So basically it's construction, digital, engineering, health and well-being, smart manufacturing. There are sort of 5 growth sectors. Now within those sectors, obviously we're looking at emerging jobs. We're trying to sort of future-proof or future skill-proof our young people. So it is all about empowering young people, raising awareness of these new jobs. So it's about making those connections. So it's been lovely talking to Amy, for example. I mean, it's just a really good resource. I mean, I hope, as I say, that we will do a platform where we can keep in touch. So in terms of pilot projects, they have to be new, and obviously they have to go through a process. Now, that process, obviously contact me or contact Sam Catlin about any more information to do with the pilot projects. My job will be mostly working with schools, colleges, and doing those career pathways, but we also have a skills officer as well, who's new to the team. And then she's looking at gaps in current provision for these new jobs and to retrain our young people and older people as well, the transferable skills in the black market to green economy to change those sort of talent we've already got. So it's exciting. There's a lot happening, but I hope I've given you a little bit of an overview. But yeah, I'll report back.
Yeah, thanks, Annette. And just important to all stay connected, because I think, as everyone here knows, like the success of all of our endeavours really depends on joining the dots and making sure we're leveraging the benefit of everything that everybody's already doing.
And I know people are asking about the funding, because obviously everybody wants funding. So it's, as I say, it's how long is a piece of string. So it has to be, you have to prove your case in those areas, those sectors. But as I say, contact Sam for more information, and anything I can help with, get in touch. I put my email there, so if I can help, I will.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting to think about how we might collaborate for something high impact and really reaching across the region. So, you know, For the Region is always, you know, open to ideas that our members and partners have around how better, you know, we can serve to be the glue that brings ideas together. Caris, was it you that was talking about the Young Person's Guarantee? And would you tell us a little bit more about that? Was that you, or have I got that
it
wrong?
wasn't me.
It's me. Me, Emma.
Oh, Emma, there you are. Yes, great. Lovely. Yes, tell us about the Young Person's Guarantee.
Yeah, so the Young Person's Guarantee is a key programme for government commitment that the Minister Vaughan Gethin launched summer of 2021 in terms of how do we collectively work together to support young people due to the impact of the pandemic originally. And obviously we were all gearing up for an economy where we all thought there was going to be mass unemployment. So, you know, that's initially where the concept was born from. However, as we know, the market was far more buoyant in its recovery following the pandemic. But a lot of research reports quickly sort of highlighted the impact of the longer term scarring effect that the pandemic is going to leave behind. So, you know, your health and your well-being, your mental health, and other challenges that young people face as well that we've discussed this morning. So we've been really looking to see how we can prioritise that support. So even though he made a statement that all young people under the age of 25 will have an opportunity or an offer of support to get back into education, employment, self-employment or training, we know that a lot of young people, it's just too far away for them at this moment in time. You know, they've got other responsibilities, other problems, issues, circumstances that prevent them to being able to enter into education, employment or training. So we're trying to prioritise our support, because a large proportion of young people, which is great, did manage to find work due to the buoyancy of the labour market, you know, after the pandemic, were able to get back into education and did find their way onto training courses. But there are still a large number of young people that aren't able to or can't due to circumstance. So we're trying to focus our help and support in engaging with those young people. How do we reach out to them? How do we reassure them that, you know, there is help there for them to get back onto that ladder, back into education or training? How do we support them into work, but not also into any job? How do we make sure that that job is fair, and that young people understand that they have rights in the workplace, so that we're looking at, you know, revamping and relooking at a fair work policy. But then what's the impact of a fair work policy on employers, especially SMEs, which makes up a high proportion of, you know, businesses in Wales? How do we encourage more employers to take on work experience? And it's great to hear so many employers on the call this morning that are very keen to engage more in that space. And again, a lot of SMEs think they're unable to provide work experience because they're a little bit worried about all the red tape that comes along with that, the insurances, the risks, the health and safety, etc. So the Young Person's Guarantee is now a year in development, and it's not something that's static. So I can't really tell you today what the Young Person's Guarantee is, because by tomorrow it might have already changed, because it has to move based on the needs of young people and also the needs of the economy as well, so that we're not sort of, we're having to be agile in the way we develop the Young Person's Guarantee. We have the interest of several ministers, including the First Minister, in making sure we succeed. But again, you know, even though we are moving towards looking at the long-term scarring impact of the pandemic, we also know that there's potentially a recession on the way due to the rising costs of inflation. So what's the impact on that on businesses? What will that mean impact on young people in terms of jobs and opportunities again? So we may well be in this cauldron pot of lots of different circumstances, and we really need to think about how we support each young person and not try and have this one shoe fits all situation. It's a really complex situation at the moment in terms of where and how we prioritize that support. And I think, you know, we've looked at different models across the different home nations across the UK. So Scotland have got a youth guarantee, Northern Ireland, other European countries have as well. And they're all slightly different, but I think the success of any youth guarantee is actually people like yourselves on the call today willing to provide opportunities, and it's how we connect these young people then to these opportunities, I guess, is the challenge. I could go on and on, like somebody else said just now, about, you know, what the Young Person's Guarantee is, because it's huge, but there is a real vested interest in it from the First Minister as well as his other ministers as well, to make sure we join up as much as possible. And I think one of the key things the Minister did say when he launched it was we need to build a Team Wales ethos, which, you know, tries to bring all stakeholders together to collaborate within this space. So he said Team Wales, but I think we need to have a more of a regional focus, because every region across Wales will have a different set of circumstances and challenges as well, and opportunities. So, you know, sessions like today, I think, just brings it home a little bit closer and makes things happen locally. So anyway, I'm going to stop, because like I said, I could go on and on. But if anybody wants to hear more, then I'm happy to meet, you know, again with people.
Thank you. Yeah, stay connected with us. It's really interesting to hear what's happening kind of at a Welsh Government level, and keep that connected. And, you know, we're really passionate about the importance of regional, because we're small enough and big enough for the right level of impact. So yeah, we really sort of welcome the kind of regional focus. So a couple of things, questions really for us all to consider is, you know, how do we reach out and encourage those young people who need the extra support and who are less confident or less able to engage with the opportunities that are around? So interesting to share perspectives on that. And you talked about how all partners need to be willing to offer opportunities. And sort of one of the voices we've heard a bit today from Amy and a few others, from an employer's perspective, I think that we need to really galvanise the willingness of employers to support young people across the region and connect that up a lot more, because if we can pull together all those who are willing to offer opportunities, maybe we can increase access to those people and families who haven't already got great connections with them, can easily get their kids into work experience and placements and job opportunities, broadening access to some of those opportunities. So yeah, really keen for others to share any thoughts on that. But if anyone wants to share insight on how we reach out to and encourage those who need extra support, I think that's really important. Amy, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, it's just I've had over my career, I've had this incessant need to give back to everyone that's helped me, and obviously where I'm from in Neath, the background wasn't great. My situation wasn't great, and as an employer, my big focus is to hire local, to encourage young people. We do like work experience, all the stuff that you're talking about there, and the change in the kids from like the first day to like the last day is incredible. I think employers are a little bit scared. There's a stigma that if you work with, if they I've never hired from a CV, but I think that a lot of employers, especially in the area, they're like, oh, I haven't got time to train. I haven't got time for this. I don't know. Do I need to get them checked? Blah, 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 blah. But what they don't realise is that a lot of times the work is all done for you. So the organisations that find the placement will help you. They support and have the one-to-ones with. So I think it's just about educating the businesses or the employers that actually we get a lot from young people because they're young and they don't have, they have mad ideas. They bring a lot to the table. They have new views on things, new inputs. They're very, very aware of things as well. So it's about having, especially more established companies, which are, don't like change. I think it's about actually educating them on what the benefits of working with young people. And it's not just from an employer basis. It's a personal, God, you feel great. You actually feel great working with some really special people as well, and it's opportunity. So I think that tackling the stigma would probably be a priority if they're not from my background, because I understand it from a different perspective than what they would anyway. So I think it is the stigma around sort of hiring young people, what it entails, all that side of things is fully supported by other companies that do it for you. And once that, it'll open up the gates then, I think. But yeah, that's what I say, is have the conversation.
That's really interesting about, the support is there, the organisations are there that can facilitate those placements, and they just need the kind of employer engagement in that, and it can be made really easy for employers. And just to pick up on something else you said, I do think it's like the most rewarding part of your job, isn't it, as an employer? The most rewarding part is of offering opportunities to local people who, creating those jobs, creating those opportunities for people. Surely that's why we're in business. Yeah, really, really interesting. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Amy. Emma, what did you want to say?
Very much similar to sort of Amy's ethos, but one thing we found, obviously Big Ideas Wales, we sort of sit as the self-employment strand of the Young Persons Guarantee under the Welsh Government initiative. And one of the things that we found when we were trying to sort of pilot and develop a programme and a package of support for young people is the massive disconnect between them even feeling in a position where they're comfortable to reach out and access the support. So what we have found is that we've had to strip it right back, and it can't just be putting them in front of a business advisor to talk about an idea that they're thinking about. We've really got to go in on that one-to-many and that very sort of gentle, soft approach first, just to give them a safe space to come and find out about what that support looks like before they even access it. And I think it's that for us, what we've had to do is sort of, like I said, strip back the support that we do offer and almost like intermingle it, because obviously what we've got at the moment is the role model network that sort of gives the face to enterprise and what self-employment could look like. And then you've got the business advisory sort of strand of support that actually then takes them to that sort of start stage. But what we've had to do is that amalgamation of the two, where it almost becomes more of a mentoring role rather than just a sort of traditional client business advisor relationship. And for us, as I said previously, is the big focus on tackling some of those confidence issues, you know, giving them a voice, giving them a safe place to come and vent, you know, that we need to do before you can even begin to go on that journey with them. And it's that for us more than anything that I think the pandemic has taught us, to be perfectly honest, as a project overall.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear those insights. Thank you, Emma. It's been a really interesting discussion. I wonder whether anyone would like to just, in the last couple of minutes really, before we close, you know, what would you say to young people if you had the opportunity to say something to all the young people in our region?
I would say you're all amazing. You've all got solutions to our problems. There is help out there for you to find your voice, and the more that you can connect your voice with other people's voices, the more effective you're going to be.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Yeah, great. Zobs, what would you say to a young person or to young people?
Kind of went with this quite similar as Tom, and I wanted to say thank you to young people and encourage their positive attributes, because we could learn a lot from young people as much as teaching them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might say something about, you know, the things that feel really hard in life. They make sense looking back and they lead you on your path of where you're supposed to be. So try and have faith that where you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be, and it will all make more sense in the future. So, you know, sometimes those things that we really struggle with that seem like the biggest challenges in our lives, well, they make us who we're supposed to be, don't they? And if we can have an empowered frame of mind around those challenges and just kind of keep the faith that everything's going to work out and make more sense in the future. That's certainly been true for me. Chris, what would you say?
Kind of walk the unwalked path, you know, think outside the box, don't follow the crowd, you know, be innovative. Yeah, think outside the box. Otherwise, we'll just continue on with the same old world we've always had. Where's the fun in that, you know?
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? And that recognition that everyone has something unique, and it's not necessarily looking around and finding footpaths to follow in, but to find your own path and have a confidence in your own uniqueness and your own strengths and values to contribute.
I've said to a lot of young people, I said, get comfortable with having plot twists in your story, because a lot of times you think you're going down one path, something will happen and you'll go, why? What's going on? So I've developed a saying now of plot twist. Didn't see that one coming, did we? No. So, and we move on. But the kids seem to really love that, because it's kind of like the evolution of your story. Because a lot of what I've seen a lot of lately is kids trying to control like everything. Like they can try to control their GCSE results. They worry over things they can't control. They worry about, you know, the end of the world, because we're all telling, you know, he's coming from adults that the world is in a really bad place. The kids are starting to feel it's a really bad place. So I say to them, you know, don't be afraid of having some plot twists. And I actually wrote the same thing as you, Dawn, when everything is always as it should be. Even if it doesn't feel like it, the plot twists are there, but it is as it should be, and it will be all right. And I think that's what I say to many people, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the framing around plot twists. Yeah, thanks, Amy. That's powerful. Really, really great. There's some great stuff in the chat as well, for those that haven't said it out loud. Really inspiring messages. Zoe, what would you say? What would you say to young people?
I think just don't be put off by things around you. Like if you're not academically minded or anything, believe in your dreams and your vision, and stay true to yourself, and you can make anything happen. Maybe.
I think we've talked before, haven't we, about sort of, you know, there's certain pathways, and we think, you know, and certainly in sort of our generation, like everyone in my generations, like everyone went to uni. There was this like big expansion of universities and this idea that everyone should be able to go to university, and I think that's changing now, isn't it? But
I was really lucky that even though I wasn't academic, I was really lucky to have parents that encouraged me to go for any job, even if it had like put your CV, GCSEs, or put your A levels. My parents would just encourage me, just because you haven't got those things, just go for it. And that I was really lucky to have that, and I would encourage all kids to just believe in themselves and go for it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, lots of support for that idea. Thanks, Zoe. Yeah, inspiring, really inspiring. There's a big job to do, I think, isn't there, for young people, and the future of our region really is in the hands of young people. We don't want to think of them as a lost generation. It's been a tough couple of years, and there are challenges, but there is so much to be positive about, and so much that young people can be encouraged to contribute, and so many different pathways to success. I think we probably all feel really uncomfortable with the idea that, you know, how you get on at school determines the outcomes of the rest of your life, and where on a macro level, when you're looking at statistics, clearly those early years experiences are really important and influential. On an individual level, for individual children and young people, they can rise above the odds, can't they, and really shape the life that they want to live, and feel empowered and enabled, and hopefully supported by all of us who care so deeply about the fate of young people across our region. So it's been really great, actually, to come together. It's something Zoe and I have been really passionate about. It's probably at the root of why we do what we do For the Region, is for young people across South West Wales to grow up into a land of opportunity, and to be able to live happy lives in communities right across our region. So we'll definitely do whatever we can to enable that. And really, it's been inspiring to hear from all of you about different projects, different initiatives, and all the amazing work that's already underway to inspire, empower, encourage young people across South West Wales. So let's stay connected. I was just going to put into the chat my email address, so we'd love to hear your feedback, any suggestions and ideas you've got, or ways in which you'd like to work with us to move some of the things we've talked about today forward, and to keep this conversation going. My colleague Evie has been furiously writing notes throughout the meeting, so we will have a report of everything that was discussed, and we'll try and capture what was in the chat as well, and the contact details of everyone who's shared their details in the chat. We'll make it into that report, which will circulate within the next week or so. There are quite a few emerging project ideas, actions and initiatives arising out of today's discussion. So what will be on our mind next is how to make some of those things happen without rebuilding stuff that's already been done. But really, really great. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and spend a couple of hours together this morning, share updates and inspiration about what needs to be done. I found it really enjoyable, and hope you have too. And I have wrapped us up just before 12, so you've got time to go and make a coffee before your next meeting. But thank you very much for being here. Lovely to see so many of you, and we'll keep in touch and see what we can do to take this forward. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.